Well, I grew up in an interesting kind of way and place that people don't necessarily think of me having, or wouldn't think that I grew up in. My mother was on welfare my whole childhood, and we ended up living in a lot of, I forget what it's called, but they call them the projects, but really they're called not assisted living, that's for older people. What's it called? Low-income housing. So we lived in low-income housing. My mother was 43 when she had me, and was single and had a really bad, debilitating back problem. And so she was on welfare, ended up going into convalescence homes a lot, and I was in foster homes too. So my whole childhood I was just surrounded by people that were of different ethnicities and cultures. Most of the people around me were African Americans, and I was the only white kid, so I had the opposite of most white Americans, whereas I was the minority. And so, I mean, apart from just the physical appearance being, you know, a minority, I was a minority in so many different ways. I was kind of fat. I was gay, I didn't know it at the time, but so I was always very different kind of person. And I think that being in foster care and being moved around and meeting people all the time and kind of being forced into uncomfortable situations all of the time helped me to kind of adopt an outgoing personality, which obviously helps when you're in the entertainment business. So I think that was a really good experience for me. I know a lot of people that grew up in places that people might expect that I had grown up in, or, you know, lived in privileged situations, and they don't really seem to appreciate an awful lot. They don't seem to be happy with what they have. Nothing's ever quite good enough. And for me, having lived in a car and in foster care and things like that, I'm happy all the time as long as I have enough to eat and I can pay my bills. And so I think it really did me really well. I don't think there's anything you could take from me that would make me feel like my life was over. So I was in high school, and a friend of mine, for my 18th birthday or 17th birthday or something, we got a limo and came to New Hope, and that was the first time that I had ever seen it. And I thought it was really cool, so we started coming up here every weekend, and before you knew it, I was working 3 jobs. I was working at a jewelry store, a pizza place, and a clothing store, and going to school. And my brother passed away. I inherited his car, and I started to drive up here, and I started working up here. And then when I graduated high school, I decided to live here, but I didn't have a place to live yet. So I just drove up here, and I slept in my car. I mean, that's the beauty of kind of being a kid when you're 17 and 18 and you don't mind it. So I was sleeping in my car, I was visiting friends that I had made around here, taking showers, having dinners, things like that. And I really was having a great time. One of the things I started to do was to house sit and things like that. So I started to meet a lot of people and gain this like support, kind of community support for little things I was doing. So that's when I started doing the stand-up comedy shows, and I think I was maybe 19 when somebody here at the Raven asked me if I would be a part of a show and do some stand-up comedy. So, and I still have the script actually from that night, and it was Miss Pumpkin was the host, and it was out at the pool, and I did my maybe 5 or 10 minute stand-up routine, which seemed like forever back then to me, and people loved it. I started going to the grocery store and people recognized me and they asked me to do these impressions that I did in my show and everything. So I started to see a little bit of a spark of people liking what I was doing and asking me to do more of it. And then I started to kind of just do whatever I could do for free. I would do benefits and do shows. If anybody asked me to do anything, I would just say yes, even though I was completely horrified and terrified of people and being in front of them. I would say yes, and I would just do it, which I think kind of goes back to my childhood, because I feel like once you can get through kind of crazy stuff like that, you can just push yourself to do anything. So that's what I did, and luckily I did, because it kind of gave me the impetus, I guess, to go ahead and do all those things. And then people just started to notice that I was this crazy guy who wasn't afraid to get up in front of people, even though I really was. So I was producing and booking the shows at Harlan's Cabaret for probably about a year and a half when I got inspired to start writing my own one-man shows where I would incorporate comedy and singing and audience participation and all these things. One performer that I booked that really inspired me a lot was named Coco Peru, somebody who was on TV and in movies and all this kind of thing. But I booked her and she came to do her rehearsal and brought a binder, and in the binder was every single word that she was going to say. And when she did a rehearsal, it sounded like it was coming off the top of her head, and it dawned on me that professional performers do a lot of prep work to make it look like it's improvisational or to make it look like it's off the cuff. And so that impressed a big thing on me, made me realize that I needed to really write everything and to practice it and to make sure it was good before it went on. So I did my first show at Harlan's called The C Word, and everyone would say, "Dwayne, what's the C stand for?" And I'd say comedy, followed by something not so nice. But anyway, so my first show was called The C Word, and I did it with 2 other guys who were stand-up comics, and we had a great time. We sold out, and it was so much fun. My second show was then called Neurotica, and that was a one-man show of comedy and music where it was autobiographical, kind of about how I grew up and people that I grew up with and my mother, and a lot of interesting little tidbits during those years. And then my next show was called Insane with Dwayne, and that was the first one where I was able to use some video background stuff, and I made little videos and fun things to kind of go along with the show. So it was singing, it was acting, it was stand-up comedy, it was a whole array of different things for a stand-up show. And it went ridiculously well. It was standing room only. People loved it, and people came from New York. It was really a great.
Gayest thing that I'd ever been a part of was I went on a gay cruise. Supposed to go to the Cayman Islands from Miami, right? And then the Minister of Tourism of the Cayman Islands, Thomas Jefferson, that was his name. No. He decided that he didn't want gay people getting off the boat, 900 gay men getting off a boat in the Cayman Islands, which I thought was weird because Cayman rhymes with gay men. Duh. So we get down to Belize, and they parked the boat 50 miles off the shore, which was the first sign that we should have never got off. All right, and then they put us on another boat, a littler boat, and they start bringing us into shore. We're getting closer, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, palm trees and Mai Tais, and then I start to see the whole coast is just covered with people with signs. Don't let Satan deceive you with your lusts. God hates fags. You're all gonna die in hell. So they get off the bus, and then they put us on a boat. Now we're on a boat in a river that looks like the Amazon, and the whole side of it is just covered with people, Mennonites, they said, with little weird underwear, like diapers. They wear diapers, and they just sit in the water, and they're like, watching people go by. It's so weird. So weird. And then the tour guide comes, and she's from Belize, and she comes up, and she says, "Hello, and welcome to Belize. If the world was shaped like a jaguar, you lift up the tail, and there is Belize." She even knew the whole country was shit.
Things for a stand-up show, and it went ridiculously well. It was standing room only. People loved it, and people came from New York. It was really a great thing. So after I had done those 3 shows, and they were really great, the hotel and the cabaret that I worked at ended up selling because the owner passed away from a terminal illness, and it had to be sold. So it was sold to somebody who didn't want the same thing in there, and so we had to leave. And so I thought, well, what can I do? And my partner, who's the chef, he was the chef there, and he's the chef here at the Raven, we came up with this thing called the Supper Club. And we thought it was a fun thing, you know, like a play on words, whereas your traditional supper club is something where you go and you sit in a seat and you watch somebody on a stage for a full hour and maybe you eat or whatever, but it's a regular show, and that's the traditional kind of thing. So we knew that people didn't want to sit and watch anything for an hour, and I knew that people don't want to listen to me for an hour talking and singing constantly. So what we did is we made it into little segments. So people would come, get a great meal. You have an option. for a set price of $21.95, and every half hour or so I put on like a 15-minute show, and I do some songs, maybe some comedy. For the most part though, I found that in the setting of a dining room, comedy doesn't work real well, so it's kind of been mostly just singing. But I'm getting booked a lot to do a lot of different things, and having had the experience of doing stand-up and singing and acting and all this kind of thing, producing, I'm able to kind of incorporate all of these things into whatever the situation calls for. So I just look at each situation as a new situation and try to do whatever I think is best for that specific venue or experience. So, well, I learned how to promote by working at the hotel and having to promote for these acts, which were getting paid $2,000 sometimes. So I really felt this like pressure to get people in to see them, and I started using social media and things like that. But I also had to do a grassroots kind of person-to-person thing to get the word out. And actually, I can show you how I do that. I'll take you guys with me down to town and show you how I just literally talk to the businesses and the people and give them flyers and posters, and really it's important to kind of stay in their faces. So that's how I do it. And another thing that people don't ever really realize about me, or they're shocked to find out, is that I speak Spanish. And the reason for that is because when I was a kid and growing up in these areas where it was mostly black people and Latinos, I started to, well, one of the things I learned from the black people was how to make people laugh and how to dance, and also how not to treat your parents badly, because black parents don't deal with that. But the Puerto Rican and the Latino kids, I learned from them that, you know, I thought it was so cool that they had this other language that they could speak with each other and with their families. And so I really started to teach myself Spanish, and I ended up teaching myself so much that a lot of people ask me where I'm from, and I say I'm from New Jersey. But I have a pretty good accent, and I think actually I may have been Spanish in a past life or something. A psychic told me that once. Because sometimes I come up with words that I've never even heard, like the word for plug, like a wall socket, is enchufe. And one day I needed a wall socket, and I was around all of these Spanish-speaking people, and I said, ¿Dónde está el enchufe? And I had no idea where that word came from. So I do think maybe in a past life I was Spanish. Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Nice to see you. I'm doing well.
Good.
So this is my next upcoming Sunday brunch at the Gaberhood Winery.
Terrific.
On the 6th. That's an actual picture of the food from last Sunday.
Nice.
So I thought your people might like it if they're here on the weekend and they want a nice place for brunch. $25. You can go back to the table all you want.
Nice. Very good.
And there's Bloody Mary, the mimosas, and all that kind of stuff, and me singing. So. Thank you so much.
All right. Terrific.
All right. Thanks a lot. Plus more. $25 all you can eat. It's unbelievable. It's really good. Which you might they're documenting this with Princeton TV. So do you want to be on? Sure.
Wow, there it is. Yeah.
So I perform, and it's from 12 to 3, and it's $25, and it's all you can eat.
It's April 7th.
Yep.
That's a good week for me.
Yeah, good. Maybe come
Maybe I'll
for your
dress up and come out.
Exactly. Do it. All right. Nice to see you. All right. You too. I'll see you later. You're welcome. Hi. So these guys are doing a documentary for Princeton Television about how I do my shows. So I said I bring them to my favorite stores and store owners to get them my posters and stuff. So this is my upcoming show, Sunday, April 6th. $25 all you can eat. Do you want to be on it?
No.
No? You sure? All you have to do is sit there.
You know I am very shy.
Well, you don't have to say anything. You just say, oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, that's
I should find out later. So,
oh, that's good to rate. Oh,
no, the New Hope Winery. Yeah, it's really amazing. Last week, it was all for 25. They have Bloody Marys, all that stuff. And then the table.
Yeah, like
But you're getting a little thin.
Are you kidding me?
You're getting to look like Karen Carpenter toward the end. Toward the end. Nice to see you. How you been? Good. I have a new show coming up. That's right. April 6th at the New Hope Winery.
How are you? Always so good to see you.
You too. I had so much fun here the other
We
night.
had a blast. So
Everybody's
awesome.
so great. Thank you.
You are. You're always so good.
Well, this is my upcoming show at the New Hope Winery, and I think it's Sunday. Let them know.
Give it to our guest and have them come and see you.
Perfect.
I would love it.
Thank
know
you
it.
so
Maybe
much.
I can come.
That was
Hi, my name's Anthony, and I'm a good friend of Tony Angelo's. And when I told him my life story, he thought it was great, and I'd like to pass this on to you. I had a really tough life. I was born and raised in New Orleans with 7 siblings. Also, my mother was a deaf mute, no father. We really had it tough. Food stamps, welfare, it was tough. She had to walk everywhere she had to go. No cabs, no buses, just couldn't afford it. And we had, like I said, we had no father. It was really difficult. The projects were tough. My mother being deaf, no father, 7 siblings, welfare, food stamps. It was very difficult for her. The only entertainment we had was us kids together. And that wasn't even fun. I tell you, I was mean to my sisters and brothers. Growing up, that's all we had is each other. And I figured with me being gay, it could have been a dominance thing, you know. I used to say awful things like clean my dishes, bitch. That's right, wash my clothes. That's a woman thing. You got to do it. Mama says you do it. I'm the guy who takes out the trash. You're the girl that cleans the dishes. You know, things like that. That just happened all the time. You know, and then it got a little tougher as, you know, my mom had to go to the corner store. She'd have to walk pulling her little buggy. We're left home alone with the upstairs neighbors keeping an eye on us. Paranoid to death, triple locks on the doors because the neighborhood wasn't good and we were young and my mom was always afraid we were going to get pulled into closets or bushes or raped or attacked or stolen from her because she can't hear anything, so she was constantly paranoid. So we had a sheltered life. It was hard. And then we got, you know, as we grew older, she couldn't do it anymore. She got tired of it. She just couldn't do it anymore. So she struggled. She found someone. And she married him, and we had 2 last siblings from him. He got her out. He got us out of this ghetto. We moved to Chalmette. We finally got into a house. But then that didn't turn out to be much better. You know, he ended up leaving her. She was back to being alone again, back on welfare, back on food stamps, and now we're in an area that is drug infested. Crack started coming into the neighborhood. Pot. Drug dealings on the corners because we lived on in a development, so we had them hanging out on corners and doing all this stuff. So we were sheltered there from our parents. So finally, about 9 or 10 years old, you know, I'm starting to click with my little gang buddies that we had in the street, throwing tires at cars. I'm rebelling, you know. I'm a juvenile punk, throwing things at cop cars, you know. Knocking on windows, throwing firecrackers in people's houses, letting them explode and laugh and run, getting on roofs, throwing water on people as they answer their door. I mean, I was awful as a kid. And it could be because of, you know, the way we were brought up. We didn't have a father, or it just wasn't right for us. So I was 16, got a job at McDonald's, did what I had to do to get a little cash in my pocket, stuck my thumb out. San Francisco, here I come. Said goodbye to my family, but not even so much as a goodbye. Pooh. I was out. I climbed up my window, took off, gone. Next day, my family didn't even know how to get a hold of me. And that was the case for 20 years before I saw my family again. But in that 20 years, boy, if I got a story to tell you what happened to me, my journey to San Francisco was not easy. All right. And all right, here we are. I'm hitchhiking to San Francisco. I'm doing whatever it takes to get a ride because, you know, San Francisco is 3,000 miles from my house. I'm hitching along, and if guys pull me over, truckers, you name it, I gotta do what I gotta do to get where I gotta go. I'm hungry, it's cold outside, and the people who have sleeping bags, I don't care, it's cold outside, you are sleeping. You do what you gotta do, and I did what I had to do. I finally arrived in San Francisco, still knowing no one. Not having a roof, not having anything to eat, so what I did, hit the bars. Get guys to buy my drinks, try to find me a trick, and so what? If I had to go home and sleep with this guy, you know what? It was a shower, it was a roof, and it was food in my stomach, and I had to do it the next day if I didn't stay there a week. Or if he didn't like me and I lucked out and I was there for a while. I did what I had to do until I got a job. And my first job was at a co-ed bathhouse. I was taking money for sex. Guys, women, I was just taking money for sex. I didn't care, it was paying my bills. Finally got on my feet a little bit. And then Feinstein comes along, shuts everything down. Finding a second job was virtually impossible. Packed up my shit, hitchhiked down to Los Angeles, got a job at Denny's. Then I started managing Denny's, which I was surprised because I was just a waiter, but they gave me a shot, and I ended up managing this Denny's. Started getting really good on my feet there. Then I met this girl, her name was Laura, and we had some sex, and it was fun, and she got pregnant, we got married, and 7 years later I got twin boys. They're 26. That marriage, you know, lasted about 7, 8 years, didn't work out. Because I'm bisexual, I still like my guys, you know, and I can't change my life. It's just what it is. And so that didn't work out, we got divorced. But, I left, and after divorcing my wife, I packed up all my stuff, hopefully for the last time, and took off to Phoenix. And there, I loved it. Phoenix was a great place. I met a nice guy, his name was Chris. We shacked up, we did good. I thought everything was going great. We both had a great job at the casino, making excellent money. We lived in a beautiful house on the riverfront. We were doing just great. Until I found out that it was all about money, all about materials. He was so materialistic that it was unbelievable how materialistic this was. I couldn't stand it. To me, it's not all about money. It's about love, life, and relationship. And that's what I'm in it for. So, and I was so disappointed this didn't work out. I left him. You know, no questions asked. I didn't say goodbye. I just said, this is it. See you. I'm gone. And I took off in the middle of the night. I was out. My mother passed away. I couldn't stay in Phoenix. I left. So I ended up going back home to Louisiana. Buried my mother. And stayed there for about a year. And loved my family a lot. But Louisiana was just not the place for me. I couldn't find what I was looking for there. So I followed some friends here, up to Delaware, where I'm at now. And I love it here. Great, and now we're here in Delaware, which I love this place, Delaware, and I'm glad that I made it here in Delaware because I now have found my life mate. His name is Paul, and this is him here. Paul, maybe you want to say a few things?
Yes, my life, fortunately for me, was nothing like Anthony's. I grew up in a very boring two-parent household. I had two younger brothers. I went to school, played games with all my friends, my neighbor friends, and did all the normal childhood activities that probably 99% of America goes through. And did my teenage years, went to the prom, and the embarrassment of having to invite a girl out to the prom, and all of that. And then I joined the military. 17, my best friend and I, we both joined the military together. We did it on a 4-month delay program, which meant that we could join and then 4 months later actually go in. So I was 18 when I actually went in. And I spent 4 years in the military. I was in Germany for 3 years, had a great time. Had a lot of friends. We traveled all over Europe. Military was probably one of the best things I ever did for myself. It kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit, because I was kind of a shy kid when I was young, but I developed out of it. Then I had a partner that lasted 18 years, but the last 10 years of our life together was not really that great. And during that time, the latter part of that time, is when I met Anthony, and it was kind of like love at first sight for me. I quickly got out of the other relationship, and a couple days later, Anthony and I moved in together. Our anniversary is actually July 4th, so the entire United States celebrates our anniversary.
That's right.
But my growing up completely different than Anthony's had nothing to do with my being gay or straight or otherwise. It was just a normal life, and even though we're both from completely diverse backgrounds, we are now happy together. We found each other. We're having a great time. I'm almost ready to retire from my job, and we're going to be moving to Florida. And we'll just be old people having a great old time.
I know.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Thanks for coming over to meet me.
Not a problem.
Well, I had talked to you a while about this documentary, and it's called Gaberhood.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times, people don't get a chance to really see people for who they are. There's a lot of struggles that we all face.
Right.
I know in the 60s it was with blacks and whites and all like that. Now that we got past that, gay, lesbian, and there's all this new stuff that's out there now that I don't even know all the names of it. I'm totally accepted of it. But I was hoping that, you know, maybe you could share a little bit of what you know, and you've been kind enough to share about you being of an alternative lifestyle. So I was wondering if we could talk a little bit.
Not a problem.
Okay, that'd be great. So Heather, where are you from?
I was born in California, grew up in New Jersey.
Wow, how'd you get all the way out here?
Just luck.
I'm not sure if you call the East Coast luck. We have winter.
It's true, true.
So, you moved up here after you were grown, or?
No, I was sick, like 18 months old when I moved from California to New Jersey.
Okay, so you didn't really experience the California.
Unfortunately not, no.
Okay. So could you tell me a little bit about your upbringing here?
Certainly. I was about 10 years old when my parents separated.
I know that's a tough time.
Yes. And I really don't have too much contact with my dad, so it's basically my mom raised me.
How's your rapport with your mom?
It varies.
I think for all of us.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so you went through school. Was there anything that you had dreamed about being?
A doctor.
Wow, that's kind of high goals.
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me about some of the experience that you kind of went through? You are lesbian, if you don't mind me telling everyone.
Right.
Okay, so when did you first notice that you might not be attracted to boys?
I think I noticed in high school, actually. And I could ask my mom about it because she's kind of going through her own thing. And she kind of dismissed it. And then I guess as I moved out, went to college, I started to realize that this was definitely the truth for me.
Okay, so you weren't just stuck in a school of ugly boys.
No.
That's what guys think a lot of times, I think.
Okay.
So when you went to college, did you have any more luck with talking with women, or?
Actually, no. I kind of just absorbed myself with college life. It was the first time I had some time away from my family and the craziness of the family. So I was working a couple jobs, doing school full time.
What type of work did you do?
I worked in a bookstore and as a secretary on campus.
Okay. What was your major at college? sometimes you can get a little paranoid when you find out all the different psychosis.
True.
So you had told me that you might be bi.
Yes. I believe I am. I mean, I'm more comfortable with women,
Right.
but it's not like guys. I'm not attracted to guys. It's just that I'm more comfortable with women.
I understand. I had a lot of girls that were lesbians, and I made very good friends with them. First gay men I met, I was a little standoff. I kind of was thinking like every guy that you met was gay, wanted to hit on you.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the truth.
No.
Probably some of them were looking at me like, God, look at this guy. You know, so you never know.
True.
So after you got out of school, did you have any major relationships? You really sprouted out?
My first one was with because I was still questioning at the time where I stood on all the issues. So my first one was with a man. I got married, but I knew the day that I got married it was not what I wanted. So therefore it lasted about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he was abusive.
I'm sorry.
But then my next long-term relationship was actually with a woman.
Okay.
And I thought it was a really serious one. I thought we were going to end up getting married. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And my next major relationship was also with a woman.
Okay. Well, I think the main thing is just to be comfortable with yourself, isn't it?
I agree.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who are married to, the traditional marriage, and they don't work out.
Right.
I've been through a few marriages, and it's been very difficult to think of how you want things to happen in the beginning, and the lack of I wouldn't say attraction, but I think sometimes we get married for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah. So with the workplace or like that, has anybody given you any difficulty with being lesbian, or they didn't pick up on it right away?
I don't think they picked up on it right away. I think I had one issue with one job where I basically had to quit because they found out that I was gay, and they weren't comfortable with it. But they wouldn't come out right out and say that, of course, because then I could have, then it would have become much bigger for the problem.
Well, there are laws that are supposed to be protected.
Yes, but I've had a lot of problems, not so much with whether I'm gay or not. It's been other issues that has caused major problems with the job.
Okay.
But I'm not the kind that'll sue somebody. Although I've gotten a lot stronger, and at this point I'm like, okay, no, this isn't right. You're not treating me the way that I'm supposed to be treated.
Well, there's a certain stand you have to take. I think the resource of having good friends and a loving family really helps you through a lot of this.
I agree.
Yeah. But sometimes family doesn't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can understand.
I believe as far as religion is concerned that I believe in a loving God that doesn't discriminate between whether you're a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man. I believe it's about love and acceptance. And I believe that's what my teaching religiously has taught me. It's about love and acceptance.
I think we need definitely a lot more of that. And thank you for being a part of this documentary.
You're welcome.
Okay. He's a cute little guy. Take care.